Coach, first, do you have a minute restriction for, for DeAndre, Jay, and JaVale, or they just see how the game plays and see how they respond?
You're just going to see how they respond.
You talked yesterday about how, they did a lot of cardio, they've been doing stuff pre-practice. I saw them out doing stuff and shoot around. When you're ramping back up, how big are those extras? Those extras that maybe you wouldn't do normally, but you're doing like before and after practice to get ready to play. And then in a situation like this.
What do you mean extras?
Extra is the wrong word, but I'm just thinking that, they're the way that JaVale was talking yesterday, he was saying 2-a-days, he was saying lifting and trying to stay in condition while he was in quarantine. And I guess how significant is that because he said he didn't have a lot of symptoms. So how significant is that for a guy like him to be able to still do that while he's in quarantine, while he was out in quarantine?
And it's probably a better question for him. I just think those guys have a standard of cardio, and they know how they want to feel on off days. They know where they want to be when they're getting their workouts in. So I think what players try to do when you're hurt or coming back from an injury or being away from playing is you're trying to get back to the place where you were. And so I think anything you can do to try to approach that is important, but there's nothing that can mimic playing. Everybody knows that. And so you're just trying to get as close as you can to set a base. Because in the game, you get to a place where you're like trying to get your second win. And that's when you know you're in shape, is when it's easy to just bypass the second win and you just keep playing. When you haven't played for a while, you're always trying to get to that point where you're tired and you can push past it. I think that's what guys are trying to do. So every rep, we have a saying, reps remove doubt. And anytime you can get your reps in, it removes the doubt of, being tired or whatever the case may be in game.
Monty, I was curious from your perspective, if you just have an eye as a coach to when guys are tired on the court, or is that something that constantly really looks at someone like DeAndre, for example, when you know by now what it looks like?
I just know I've been around these guys, JaVale, not so much, but I've been around the rest of them enough to know. Most of them won't tell me the truth, but I kind of know when they're a bit winded. Usually when they ask me to come out, they're way past their limit just because they want to play. But I think I have a decent feel for when a guy is approaching the limit or, right before, you can just tell. So I hope I can identify that when these guys are, out there on the floor tonight.
Miami, kind of like the Clippers the other night, where even with the guys down, like someone like Strus, for example, has really stepped up with the guys out. They just had a lot of bodies still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we talked about it yesterday. Like that young man is one of the best shooters in the league, and you have to respect his ability to get his shots off quickly. He and Duncan, and they're a deep team. I mean, Kyle by himself is just a handful, and a lot of it's defense, his ability to take charges. I think they lead the league in charges. A lot of that is probably because of Kyle, and then his weak side defense. He's one of the rare guys that he's a lot like Chris. He can be posted up by a bigger guy and come up with the ball, that kind of stuff. So they have some guys out like we do, but they also have depth, and they have arguably the best coach in the league. Him, Steve, Pop, like who knows? That system has been in place for a long time now, and they just play to their standards. So whoever they plug in, they just go out there and get after it. This kid, you're at 7. I've been watching him for a few weeks. I'm trying to figure out how they find that guy, because I watch a lot of Spo's games. And And when I watch him play, I'm like, man, that dude is skilled and he's tough. And he's certainly a Miami DNA guy.
When you just speaking to that, player development, one thing that you guys stress, how much do you see that?
It's who they are. It's one of the programs that has influenced how we do our stuff here. I've talked a lot about Golden State and San Antonio, but Spo is one of the coaches that I look up to about as much as anybody, just because of the stamina that he's had and their ability to find players and just turn them into, rotation guys, all-stars, whatever the case may be. Like, he's been doing it for a long time. So they certainly have perfected it, finding guys. And you go all the way back to Bashan Leonard, guys like that back in the day that nobody wanted to draft, and they go to Miami and they become starters. They've been doing it for a long, long time.
We'll finish with a couple on Zoom. First, we'll go to John Crotty with TTV.
Hey, what's going on, Monty? How are you?
Hey, John.
I know you talked a little bit about Kyle and his impact defensively. When you look at tape, you obviously have one of the best point guards in the league. And Chris, what do you see from Kyle and the way he's kind of changing the team offensively from Miami's perspective when you're reviewing the tape on your end?
I mean, I think the thing with Kyle is he has the ability to play with the ball and off the ball. I'm not quite sure Miami's had a dominant point guard like that can do that in a long time. His ability to that left-hand setup for a three, we all know about it, and yet it's really hard to stop. His ability to get to the free throw line so that they can set their defense. And he's just been a really good player for a long, long time. When you add a guy like that to Butler and all of the guys that they have, it helps with the continuity, but Kyle's so doggone smart. He can play on any team and figure it out, and that's what you're seeing. The passing ability, the way he draws fouls, he's just a tough guy to match up for. And the thing that when I watch the film, when they ISO, Jimmy at the elbow and they got 3, sometimes 4 guys in a gaggle action, Kyle's the guy over there setting the hardest screen, just knocking guys out. And that's probably something he doesn't get a lot of credit for, but he's one of the better screen setters in the league.
2 more. Next will be Eric Reed with ETV.
Hey, Coach, thank you for taking our questions and answering them as well as you do. Just wondering, last year's experience taking your team all the way to the NBA Finals, how did that improve you as a coach, and how has it sort of enabled you to handle the challenge of this season now and trying to get back there and win?
I think when you get that close and you come up short, you fail. It improves your capacity to learn. For me, I've always respected the guys who've done it year after year after year, but there was a humility for me, just because I'd never done it, 1, and 2, I think about guys like Spo and Steve and Pop and Doc who do it time and time and time again, the stamina that it takes to do that. Think about Coach Riley. I understand Coach a lot better now than I did almost 30 years ago when I was a rookie for him. I just thought he was the most intense person I'd ever met in my life. And having gone through an experience like that, I understand him a lot better than I did back then. So I think it just increased my capacity to learn and grow, but also created a level of humility for all the players and the coaches that do it over and over and over again.
Final question will be Yaron Weitzman with Fox Sports.
Hey Monty, hope you're doing well. You mentioned the charges before, how the Heat draw so many. Is that something that you kind of does that affect how you attack them as a team? And is that something that you would game plan for?
I think every team game plans for Kyle taking charges. When I was in Philly as an assistant and he was in Toronto, we showed film clips of, he's an empty out slow guy. If his guy cuts through the paint, Kyle will slowly empty out to anticipate the charge. I mean, if you're not aware of that, you're going to get beat. And so we talked about it in Philly. We talked about it here. He's one of the, few guys from that position that can affect the game defensively. We have one in Chris. And so our guys are well aware of, Kyle's effect. We call it the Lowry effect. He used to drive Joel Embiid crazy when we were in Philly. And so we showed clips of him yesterday doing that. So he's just a really good player and a pain in the butt.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.